there's a question that I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to save it towards the end since this is kind of like how would I say, like kind of sort of heavy loaded question in a way, but there's a thing called the Invisible War. I'm pretty sure you're aware of this. Well, I don't know if you're aware of this. It's basically there's a film about uh certain people in the military that certain things happen to them and really bad things that happen to them. I don't know if you're able to talk about this about how sometimes they get sexually assaulted and that would be like guy on guy. Like I know there's women on guys and all that stuff, but like did you
So
personally see
so
that?
so so um I know what you're talking about. Um
Mhm.
so the so are you talking about a movie or are you just talking about like something in general? Like
I'm talking about the
'cause-
what the movie was pretty much trying to put in the front light of how you
oh,
really
okay,
don't
okay.
hear about that.
So so when it comes down to the military, man, there's and it's funny because me and my girl were just talking about this. Um
Mm-hmm.
so so the unit that I'm currently with right now in the reserves. Um, we're all familiar with what happened over at Fort Hood a couple months ago with
Mm-hmm.
the Vanessa chick, right?
Yes.
So so they're scheduled to leave to Fort Hood next month. Um,
Mm.
Fortunately, I will not be going with them because I'll be in my course. I'm already in my course, but um, so yeah, man, it's a really big thing. Um, I've witnessed it firsthand. It's something that's it's very and believe it or not, man, it happens to a lot of guys more than it does to females, man. Um, I a lot of people have taught they don't talk about a lot of guys don't talk about it, man. It comes down to one of those pride things. They don't want to be seen as weak or inferior. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to be embarrassed, man. It's just
Yeah.
one of those things. It's one of those things where it kind of just it really fucks up your mental state, and I've seen it happen. Um, I've seen it happen to a friend of mine. Unfortunately, it's um, I mean, he he he's over it now. I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty sure um, we haven't talked about it. He hasn't brought it up. I'm pretty sure he's gotten over it. He's gone past that. I'm not gonna touch on that um, again out of respect, and that's not my place to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like I said, I've seen it happen. I was part of the investigation. I got
Oh
questioned by
shit.
NCIS. They pulled me
Okay.
in. They asked me about the guy. They asked me not about my friend, but the guy who did it, and it would be the person you least expect, man. These
Oh
motherfuckers,
shit.
bro. They prey on you, man. It was a he was a when we first came in, we were brand new, and it was our first deployment, and it happened overseas, bro. It happened overseas, bro. We were in Japan the first time, and I seen it, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a corporal of ours. It was a corporal of ours, and he got real friendly with us. He was, he tried to, it's the same thing, man. The same thing, bro. They win your trust, bro. They try to get on your good side, and with me, man, I've always been the type to keep my distance, from people, Yeah,
Yeah.
Pete knows how I am. I'm real laid back, but I tend to keep to myself a lot, and
Yeah.
I've always been that way. I've always been that way, man. Um,
Yeah.
so, but
I
yeah,
get
man,
you.
it happened. It happened with him, man. It happened with him, and it really fucked him up. It really fucked him up for a while.
Yeah. I
Um,
bet.
another thing is you hear about another big thing. It's the depression thing, man. It's the suicide rate. That's another thing too, man.
Hmm.
Uh, that has a lot to play into it too, man. The sexual harassment, bro. The divorces, man. The affairs, bro.
Does hazing
Um,
really happen in the military or not really?
yeah, it does, man. It does. It really does. I don't know about now. I don't know about now, man, because
They
when I
gotten
was
better.
in,
So when people think about
I
hazing, like to what degree? Because they're like, it can be any kind of hazing. It could be like,
see,
joining a
yeah,
football team or,
yeah, see, okay, so the thing with, okay, so the one thing, so I know it stopped right after I got in, but with us and the artillery community, what we used
Mhm.
to do is, so there was two different things that we did. So I remember when um when I first got to the field, my first time actually being around the weapon system, aside from the schoolhouse and actually being out in the field and actually like firing this shit nonstop. Um, when you fire your first, when you fire your actual first round, which is like I fired like the biggest fucking charge that we had, and that thing's fucking huge. I'm pretty sure you've seen the videos, Pete, that I
yeah,
usually
yeah,
that I put. So you ever seen the one where that shit just shoots back, bro?
yeah.
So so that was my first time firing it, bro. Like I fired it and that shit just whoosh, just flew back. So what happens is so it's like it looks like a bullet. So and that's called the we call it the primer. So what
Mhm.
happens is the order that it goes in, it's so you put the round in first. So you put the projectile in, and then right behind it you put uh the powder. It's almost like gunpowder, but it's like made for like projectiles. So it's like it's huge. It's like a big
Mhm.
ass cylinder. It's about this. It's probably a little bit bigger and about probably about this high.
Hmm.
Yeah, some people call
And
it like a
sometimes
cake.
um yeah, I guess, but we it's sometimes we would have to put two of these motherfuckers right behind the projectile,
Damn.
and then so then you close the breech, you close it, and then you prime it. So then that little bullet that I was telling you about, so that's the
Mhm.
primer. So what happens is when you fire it, there's a it's the firing pin that goes right behind it. So you pull the lever and it primes it. So it's like a magazine well, and it's just like it's like you look like you look like at a gun magazine. You see the bullets. So
Yeah.
every time you prime the weapon system, it ejects a primer, and then the firing pin is attached to a hook, and that hook you attach a rope to it. So you stand off to the side, and when the section chief yell fire, you pull it, and then that firing pin it strikes the primer, which ignites the powder, which ejects the projectile out of the tube or out of the barrel of the howitzer. So right after that's done, what happens is they eject the primer, and that primer pops out, and it's like blazing hot. So there's this thing we call the cotton swab that they would dip in a bucket, and then they would swab the breech to like cool it down, and it gets rid of all the gunpowder, all the expelled gunpowder, and all the dirt and everything, and then they dip it back in the water. So all that water turns like real dirty, real murky, just nasty, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So for us, the hazing ritual was is they eject the primer, they catch it while it's still hot, they grab it and they dip it in the water, so it's like a shot of water, but it's this nasty ass water. So then what they do is
Hmm.
we would take that, we would drink it, and then we'd bite the primer, and then what they would do is they take that cotton swab and they'd ram it into our chest really hard, bro. Like they just ram it into our chest, and then that would basically be our like welcome to the gun club initiation, basically, right?
Hmm.
So
The f-
they stopped doing that. Another thing was for us is whenever we got pinned our our NCO ranks, or whenever we picked up corporal and above, it was mostly when you picked up your NCO. So if you notice, or if you ever met anybody that's in the Marine, we always would wear our ranks on our collars, which are right here, and they're like
yeah.
right on our collarbones. So whenever you would get pinned on, what happens was is you wouldn't put the back pieces on them. So motherfuckers that would do is you basically stand there, and people who were already NCOs before you, they'd come up and they'd basically just like pound you. They shove these ranks with little fucking uh, points straight into your collarbone. And if you weren't bleeding at the end of it, man, dude, they just get fucked. They stopped a lot of that shit though because they had people they just couldn't hack it and they ended up killing themselves. Like
Oh
there was
shit.
a there was a guy, um, one of my buddies he lives here in Mesquite. Um, he was an infantry and he got stationed with me in Hawaii and he ended up going to Iraq. So there was a
Mm-hmm.
guy there and it's super sad, man. But he basically and you know the Marines are just they're known for being we're known for being just fucking with one another. Um, Sometimes some people can take it a little too far.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us we view it as we're just trying to toughen you up. But like I said, some people like remember earlier I said some people just aren't. It's not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so what ended up happening was this guy getting fucked with, and usually all the new people, they're the ones who get fucked with a lot. So they ended up going overseas. This My homeboy basically told me what ended up happening was this dude basically wrote out a whole fucking letter on his arm, took this 240, which is the machine gun, took a 240, and in the middle of the night, all they heard was, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." And this dude took the 240 and basically, yeah, offed himself in a fucking ditch, bro, in his fucking hole that they dug. Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? I was just like, that's fucking crazy. And that shit actually made the fucking news, bro. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not the U.S. news, but it made the Marine Corps Times. Like, it was bad, man. Like, it was fucking bad, dude.
Holy
Um,
shit, dude.
yeah, man.
Damn.
I had a couple. Yeah, I had another buddy of mine, man. It's like, which is going back to relationships though.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why I never got married and I never actually settled is because I had a buddy of mine. We went through basic together. We went to the schoolhouse together. We went through our first deployment together,
Mm-hmm.
and we got back. We got back, and literally on our 2 weeks of leave, we got back. He got married, and even to this day, man, I fucking hate that bitch, bro. Like, if I ever see her, bro, I'm gonna deck the fuck out of her, man. Um, so what ended up happening was is he got married. He brought her out to Hawaii. Um, she moved in with him. They got a house. They got a house out in town.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple months later, she decided she's like, I don't want to be married. And we were out in the training area, and we come back, and she done upped and took everything, man, and emptied out the bank account, everything, bro, and moved back to wherever the Utah. He was from Utah,
Okay.
and she moved back to Utah. She emptied out the bank accounts, everything, man, and well, a couple months down the I think like a month, 2 months down the road, they found him at somebody's house, face down, body full of fucking just all types of fucking drugs, man. I'm just like, it was crazy because I had just talked to him the night before that happened, and he had invited me to go to this party with him. And yeah, man, it was one of the hardest things that I had to like. I remember they called us back to base. They had a roll call, and they kept telling us to get a hold of everybody. I remember I kept calling him and calling him. He didn't answer. And I remember the following morning, it was like 6 in the morning. They had us mass formation, and then our CO comes out and he's like, "I just had to go," and he gave us the news. He dropped it on us and was like, "Yeah, so he's like, who can tell me about who can tell me about Johnson, this and that?" And we're just like, we're looking around. We're like, "Where the fuck is he?" It's like he ain't here. He's like, I just had to go down to the morgue and identify his body and this and that, and we're just like, what the fuck, dude? And that was one of the hardest things for me to actually like go through, and seeing somebody like that, and then um, I didn't even get a chance to go to his funeral because they flew his body back to his home state, and one of the guys who actually went, he said she was there, and then that she was just like all like prancing around like it was nothing, and I'm just like, and
Damn.
apparently since she was married, so whenever you die and you're in the military, it's very it's there's certain ways to go about it. It's very complicated, but if you die a certain way while you're in the military, your spouse gets a very huge payout, man. I think she ended up getting like 300,000, something like that. Um, so yeah, man. So
Shit.
apparently, like she was like rolling around in a brand new fucking truck. She was like all decked out, and I'm just like, and then she had the nerve to ask my homeboy who went to the funeral to go to a fucking party with her the night of his fucking funeral, bro.